Hello YouTube and welcome to another AB Helicopters video. This time we look at how to conduct a pre-flight briefing like a pro. A complete pre-flight brief is vital for a safe day of flying. The flight briefing occurs after you've done your flight planning, and it's a chance to take a structured review of the flight conditions and, if working with a crew or a student, to improve the situational awareness of everyone on board the helicopter to make sure you're all updated on the current helicopter and environmental conditions.
In this video, we're going to break the pre-flight briefing into 6 distinct sections, starting with the weather, then looking at the serviceability, NOTAMS, loading of the helicopter, the exercise and objective of the flight, and finally, threat and error management and emergency procedures. Starting with the weather, try and look at a general overview. Even the local news weather report can give you a basic understanding of what weather to expect and the worst case conditions for performance, the maximum temperature and the lowest pressure, for example. From here, you can then start to look at a synoptic overview to understand what is driving the weather. Are there any areas of low pressure moving through, or perhaps a succession of fronts that will bring a range of conditions? In the UK, the Met Office issues Form 215, which can be used to understand what is happening in each air mass. Although the areas covered by each box may be so great that it doesn't provide the clarity of information that you might need. The Form 214 tells you what the prevailing wind direction you can expect is at various altitudes. Take note for your cruising altitude, for example, and adjust accordingly. Similarly, for instrument flying, it provides information on the freezing level. Without de-ice or anti-ice capability, you need to make sure that you are below this. Next, you can start to dive into the individual weather stations to check the METARs, the actual weather, and the TAFs, the forecasts for each station. If it's available, it's worth then using any rainfall radar returns and predictions to map exactly where a front or school line of showers are, so you know when to expect them, how quickly they're moving, and how thick the band of rain is. Likewise, if you have a surface visibility forecast, check this to reduce the chances of being caught out by ground fog, mist, or radiation fog in the early hours of the morning. If operating during the winter or in cold climates, don't forget the implications of overnight icing or snowfall on the helicopter. Finally, on the weather, check if you have any access to specific area forecasts. For example, in London, there's a CTA brief which provides a concise traffic light coded forecast of the weather in London. Match this against any internet webcams in the area, as nothing actually beats looking out the window to double check what the weather is doing. Another example of a localised weather forecast are the Garfor routes that crisscross the Swiss Alps. These are traffic light coloured depending on the weather of the day. Next up, NOTAMS, or Notices to Airmen. This is a chance to double check there's no major events, navigational hazards or area activity that's scheduled to occur along your route during the specified times of your flight. Whilst the data is available in its raw form, the website in the UK, for example, there are plenty of third-party sites and applications that display this data in a more user-friendly graphical manner. I recommend using the free version of SkyDemon Lite or even NOTAMS UK to check your route. But bear in mind the data on the third-party applications will not be as up-to-date as the AAP website. So if Notam has been cancelled, it may still show for a period of time on a third-party application. Big things to look out for: air shows, fly past, restricted airspace, and airport closures. A review of the helicopter, confirming the current hours until the next scheduled maintenance. Are there any deferred defects that may affect the flight? For example, unserviceable landing lights that might prevent you from flying at night. It's worth a check of the current fuel state, and do you need to arrange any refueling to match your fuel for the flight plan? It's also a chance to confirm where the crew, passengers and any cargo or baggage is all loaded, and are you still within the weight and gravity limitations. You can also check what the planned performance of the helicopter is against what your requirements are. For example, if you're going to go do some aerial photography or go into a tight confined area, are you outside of the outer ground effect hover weight, given the environmental pressure and temperature conditions? Or, if you're flying a twin-engine helicopter, do you need to burn off some fuel before you can do a Cat-A VTOL takeoff or landing, for example? Crew qualification and recency. Are you current? Is your license and medical in date? Do you have any upcoming company or operator-specific requirements, such as rest periods or training that is due that may affect your legality to fly? For example, fire training, dangerous goods, or emergency exit or Hewitt. helicopter underwater escape training. Next up, you have a chance to brief about the purpose of the flight. For an instructional flight, for example, what are the specific objectives of the lesson? Say you're looking at advanced auto-rotations. Ensure that both the student and the instructor have a shared understanding of what the auto-rotation profiles are to be flown. Or perhaps in a doors-off photography flight, are you and the photographer aligned with exactly what angles and shots are required, and what are the safety considerations of such a tasking with the doors removed? It's good time for a loose article check on your body. Finally, threat and error management. Depending on the crew and the passengers, this might be a good point to raise any potential threats that you might face during the different phases of the flight. For example, if a weather front is moving towards you, or fog is forming in the early hours of the morning, or perhaps you're going into a tight, unsecured landing zone. You can also use this moment to discuss an emergency of the day, a randomly selected scenario for you to discuss as a pilot or crew how you'd react to, what your immediate reactions would be, and how it would impact the continuation of the flight, and if required, where would you land? So there you are. That's my take on a pre-flight briefing. Hope it's of some use, and look out for further videos. So there you have it. That's my take on a pre-flight briefing. We've covered things from aircraft serviceability, weather, NOTAMs, performance, loading, and even threat and error management. Now, till next time, stay safe, and thank you for watching.